Lisandra, I am such a fangirl. This is so fun for me.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for having
Thank
me.
you for
Yay.
being here. You're born in San Juan.
Yes. So I was born in San Juan and then we moved around a little bit, but my dad still lives in Barceloneta, Manatí area, and then my mom's in Yabucoa. So they're all still there, but I'm not.
You say you learned English guerrilla style. What does that mean?
Oh, yes. That means that we moved from Puerto Rico to Ohio when I was 8 years old. Ohio.
Where?
Uh, North Canton, Ohio, like Northeast Ohio. And when we moved, um, we were just, my mom was like, vaya con Dios, and like just kind of put us into school. So the three, me, my brother, my sister, we only knew like basic English, like the type that they taught you at school, a few words. And I remember getting there, and just like, I could kind of understand things because you can read body language.
Hmm.
And, but we would have a ESL tutor come and get us from school. I think I finished the second half of second grade when we first moved there. And then by third grade, we were fluent. Like by
Isn't
the
that
summer,
amazing?
kids, and we watched so much television. It really did help. One of my jokes is that I learned English by watching Barney because like we really did. Like it's really great, the programming, because you are learning basic words and concepts and all of the language in a very simple way. So Barney kind of taught me English.
How much of the sparkling personality that you have now is a product of having moved and had to readjust at such a critical age?
I do think a lot of it,
Hmm.
because I think that a lot of also why I'm able to be like a good comedian is my powers of observation and my ability to just read the room was heightened by me
Hmm.
having to be like a fish out of water in all these areas of my life. So I do feel like being forced into situations like that did amplify that sense of how to exist in the world. And then also, I do feel like I remember being like, oh, I got to learn how to tell stories in order to get to make friends. Because I was like, I just knew that like if I was telling a good story, I would be able to make friends.
Were you a class clown?
Yeah. Well, yes and no. Like I was I would cr- I would say like the boys that were kind of like the class clowns, but I was definitely funnier than them still. Because I got voted funniest in my fifth grade class. No big deal.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no big deal. But no, oh my gosh, I'm not even gonna say this, but maybe I will. So like, and this is how deep my artistry goes, because I do think about this a lot, and I've always been into current events.
Hmm.
Because in fifth grade, my teacher asked me and a friend to do scarecrows, and it was during the OJ trial.
Hmm.
And so we each did I did a Nicole Simpson scarecrow. And that my parents got a phone call, and they were like, maybe you should watch the television that she's watching. But I was really following the trial. I shouldn't have been doing that when I was in fifth grade. That was in 95. I was 10.
They would remember. Do you remember they would like wheel in the TV
Yeah.
on for verdict day? That was a
Yeah,
huge
that was
thing
a
for our
huge thing.
generation.
So, and I was like, I understand why this is I understand why it's problematic, but this is commentary. I'm not saying that this is good. I'm saying that this was happening. And I got a talking to.
I got a talking to in third grade because I told my class that I'd read a biography on Gloria Steinem and that she'd had an abortion. And so just as your teachers had to say, like, maybe you need to watch what she's
Hey,
watching, they're like, maybe you need to watch what she's reading because
maybe a dark sense of humor. And it wasn't even, I was just making art. Listen, you didn't give me they didn't even give me any constraints. So I created art of the moment. And that's what was on TV all the time.
did you want to pursue a career in the arts? Like, when does that start?
Yeah, from when I was a kid, I knew that I wanted to be in New York or LA, and I wanted to work in in the entertainment industry. But when as Latinas, the Latinos, like we don't have that as a
Viable career path?
at all in the arts or anything like that. Like my mom grew up super poor. She's one of 12, technically 18. They grew up in El Campo, like very, very, very poor. So the only way out of that kind of lifestyle is to get an education, go and become a professional. My mom's a pediatrician. All of her siblings are all like engineers, pharmacists, like everything that you can name, teachers, whatever. They're all in those kind of career paths that you can climb. So I had to figure everything out on my own. Like I didn't ask anybody for permission to become an artist. I just did it, but it kind of had to do it by learning and trial and error on my own. So I like went to school in Tampa for a little bit because I got accepted to University of South Florida. I lived with my sister, and then I got a job at the mall so then I could pay for acting classes. And so
Which store at the mall? Which kiosk?
I worked, that was kiosk, is so funny. Annie Ann's was in front of it, but I was working at PacSun. So I had two jobs. I had a job at PacSun and one at Fredericks of Hollywood.
Nice.
And I liked that because I got paid every Friday. So they had alternating schedules. So every Friday I had money. Oof.
Rolling in.
Just really.
So you use those to pay for acting classes. And what is it you actually learn in acting classes?
The first acting class that I took was called a Meisner technique. So it's a technique to essentially like be in the moment and drop in. The Meisner technique, it's like a repetition thing. One of the sayings that he says is like when you're acting, you don't pretend to count the ceiling tiles, you count the ceiling tiles. So it's like you actually have to like feel the thing and notice the thing. So that's what you learn in some of those classes. But then you learn, how to break down a script, how to audition on camera. But a lot of it is scene work and learning how to like actually, because a lot of people when they get on camera, they think they're like,
yeah, I'm an
hey,
actor.
Look at me being so sad. But it's actually a lot of work to use your body as an instrument for to convey emotions, much like a singer has to work years to develop their voice to be even better. That's what an actor has to do. It's a matter of practicing.
When is your political awakening? Is there a political awakening?
Well, I've always been very aware of social justice issues, but I haven't been vocal about it outside of like my friendships.
Okay.
For a long time. Like I wish my mom could find it, but there's like I know there's a picture of me when I was in elementary school. We're in Ohio, and I'm filling in the electoral map. I think it was a Clinton election, and I was filling in the electoral map. So I've always been kind of like weirdly interested in that stuff, but even though I didn't know like really what it all meant, I was just like interested in like the structure of it. But this I would say that where I started getting permission to speak on it as a comedian, I did a fellowship with an organization called Generation 180 last summer. So this has been relatively recently since I've been utilizing my voice for this purpose. But through the fellowship that I got there was for climate. It was called Climate Cultura. So it was 10 Latino artists in Atlanta that we learned about environmental stuff and climate change. Did like a whole intensive weekend where we learned so much about this stuff. And then as a part of that fellowship, we had to create pieces of art out of it. In my case, I did 3 videos for reels, and then somebody did a whole little short film trying to get our community more engaged with the climate crisis, and to get it to be less of like a thing and more of like, oh, hey, this is how it actually affects our lives. And all we have to do is make this little change to actually save you money in the long run. And then, so it's a lot. So that got me started.
Okay, but hearing you even just say that, like lay out that task, it to me reminds me of why what you do is so special. Because I'm like, that sounds super important and also super boring. And yet when I watch your content, that's not how I feel. Like that is the magic sauce, which is I am going to feed you vegetables, but at no point will you feel as though you're eating vegetables.
Right. Yes, like do you remember like Jessica Seinfeld's book?
Yes, she's literally pureeing vegetables into waffles.
Yes. Is that what I'm doing?
Yes. I think so, though.
Is that what I'm
There's
doing?
a lot of syrup on top, but
there's so much syrup.
That does seem to be what it is. What did that require of you to make that pivot and start incepting political messages into your comedy?
I'll say TikTok really helped because the reason why I like TikTok a lot is and I think a lot of people who are creatives, they feel a lot of pressure to get everything perfect on Instagram.
Yes.
And so what gave me a lot of permission to be free as an artist and to try things and to see like, and to just, because I use TikTok for me as a sketchbook. Like as a comedian, we do open mics all the time. So it felt to me like an open mic where I could just try out new bits or try try something out, and then you would see, that there's something there. Let me try it again, different topic, different tag or whatever. And so I feel like trying things out, giving myself permission to just fail too on TikTok. And then I didn't really start like even my political stuff like during the election, because like really the one of the videos the video series that I started to do around the election was like little curses for Latinos that voted for Trump. It was like, if you're a Latino that voted for Trump, I hope every time you go get the avocado, it's bad. That's weird. It was like just tiny curses, or like that every time that you go to eat your taco, the tortilla breaks for voting for him. Like, and so that's when I started doing that series, and people were like, okay, and I'm like, okay, cool. And I didn't even share those on Instagram because I still felt like Instagram, I don't know, there's people that I know in real life and in bookers and stuff like that, and I just felt judgment, even perceived judgment.
Yeah.
Because I
No, I
mean,
get it.
so that's where I felt permission to just be myself. And then I started sharing it on Instagram uh more recently. And then now especially like with the Caroline Lovett series that I've been doing, the press secretary one, now I've developed a and I didn't share all of those until until I saw that they were doing well on TikTok. And then I was like, okay, the series is doing well, then I can move it. So usually the ones that perform well on TikTok, I will move over to other platforms, but now I don't care.
Now I want to see what you're doing on TikTok that I'm missing out on because I'm just
I
too
do
old.
I do be posting more on TikTok. I be on there a lot.
So which video is it that begins to explode your following?
I would start inserting myself into TikTok drama, but by playing the character. Like I did this one bit where there was somebody was telling the story of a mom that had a party at Build-A-Bear,
I
and
remember that one.
yeah,
Uh-huh.
she had all the kids come. She paid for the bears, and then the kids, she's like, okay, now give the bears to Caitlin, to the birthday girl. And everybody got really pissed because they're like, oh, I thought the kids were going to get to keep the bears,
As one would.
as one would assume,
Mhm.
because they made these bears. Like,
Mhm.
no, that's for my daughter. And then everyone in that comment section was, and so did I. I did a video where I pretended that I was the mom, and I just put on glasses. I put on like a filter, and I was like, I'm the Build-A-Bear mom, and I paid for those bears. They're mine. And then people really thought
Uh-huh.
people thought
Uh-huh.
I was that woman.
Yeah.
I was getting hate comments for such a long time. And like it just takes like, but it's funny because it's just like all they had to do was look at the caption which said satire, or click to my profile.
Yeah, but
And
it
it would
also it's funny and it's sad because it reminds us how much media literacy there
I know
is.
media literacy is oof, it is gone. But
So what goes through your mind? What is the first time you see Carolyn Levitt?
when they announced her, I did do I did do like a video in the style of like, you know how Weekend Update or The Daily Show, they'll like look at I here's the thing, because I mean I'm Florida, Georgia. I know girls like her.
Mhm.
I just know, like I just knew when I looked at her, I was like, oh, this was the girl on the softball team that was like, and then she did play softball, but like I just knew, she's mean, kind of like will do whatever it takes, like the kind that will like, if you're on the opposing team, like she'll check you, like the kind that gets a little too aggressive, for no good reason other than she just wants to win, and that's the kind of energy that I see in her, and so I didn't have a real opinion of her immediately until I heard her speaking, and um the rhetoric that would come out of her mouth, and just um the dangerous way in which everything gets twisted whenever she speaks is, I found that to be uh just very in alignment with what this administration is pushing, but also as a character, yummy for me, because I'm like, oh, it's the, for me it's the shadow aspect of things. It's like, oh, she really just goes for it and just flat out lies and just says whatever. And when she would tell people, oh, hey, like when she goes like, oh, that's insulting or whatever to somebody for even bothering to ask a question, I'm just like, that's a choice. And so I feel like sometimes like whenever I make this work, it helps me, because sometimes there's a light and shadow aspect of everything, and it does like it is kind of fun to play in that, but then in real life you have to remember that you're like a real person with morals and ethics and that cares about people. So when I play those characters, it's as a character, but as a real person, she's extremely dangerous.
Tell me about the first time you did stand up.
So I did stand up. I started in LA. I did I took a comedy class because I didn't know where to start. So I did like a 5 minute set and I really liked it. But I mean, LA, it's like New York, it's very expensive and you have to like, I was doing photography and editing and work and stuff like that. So I had to like, it was hard to find the time to go do mics or anything like that. I didn't really have like a desire to continue to do it. I just really wanted to do it because I'm like, I wanted to see if I liked it. And then it wasn't until I moved to Atlanta that I also my friend Lace Larrabee teaches a stand-up class called Laugh Lab. And so when I moved to Atlanta, I was like, well, let me as it was like the first as soon as I moved here, I also wanted friends. So I was like, okay, so let me join this class. I'll meet some people and I'll see if I like it because I felt when I was leaving, I don't know if you're like this, but when you close a chapter in your life, like me leaving LA was a really big deal. And so I was just thinking about the ways in which I was ready to tell some of those stories. And I felt like stand up was a really good outlet for it. And so that's kind of why I joined the class to sort of like help me figure out how I was going to tell the story.
Smart.
And that's where I was able to hammer out the bit of like, why I quit, like why I moved there and why I quit acting and all that stuff. So I have like a bit that I still do on stage about that part of my life and how I learned to speak English. But that really helped me. And then after that, that was 4 years ago. And I've just when you do comedy, it's about stage time. You just got to get the experience and hours in. And so then you go to mics, you do shows, and then eventually just keep it going.
How much, given that you are using TikTok as your
Mhm.
sketch pad, how much of what I am seeing on Instagram and TikTok is being originally born out in your comedy on stage? And how much of your comedy on stage is beginning with what happens like TikTok? Which way does it flow? Or does it flow both ways?
That's a good question. So I kind of for right now, I've been keeping them separate because I don't really talk about politics on stage. I've started to a little bit, um, but it's because I live in Georgia. I mean, I'm in Atlanta, but it's still Georgia. And so politics is tricky in the sense of like, I do have one joke where I do bring up Donald Trump and it depends on the room. So, but now that I've done it enough, but it's about his looks because he's ugly, right? And so everyone that's objective, we can all agree on that. But that one sometimes doesn't do well in rooms that are more conservative. But then I now have like a way to clean it up and like I know like I have a way to charm the room and be like, but I know that's your boy, okay? And they're like, no, toupees are hot. No, I'm just kidding. He got shot. It's sexy. I have ways to like play and then I go into the next bit. But if it just so happens to be a more conservative room. So because everything is so divided, I have like ways of bringing things up that feel authentic to me, but also isn't dividing the room or making people think about the stuff that's happening too much because people do
Want to break?
want to break when they come to my TikTok or my Instagram or my channel. You're subscribing to that. You know what you're getting. So you came to me, you're fine. So that's where I feel completely fine being 100% like exactly in my lane. But then I feel like if people are paying and we have a mixed audience, I do tend to like not to play both sides. You can tell that I'm a raging liberal, but it's still funny to everybody. The bit.
Do you ever worry about retribution?
Yes, I do. Uh, I, I have friends, but they're men that have told me that I don't have to worry about because I post my schedule online. I'm a comedian, and like I've had people threaten me via DM.
Mhm.
Like people have threatened me with saying that they would like to shoot me and all sorts of things. So death threats, all just for doing sketches online, like which is insane just for being a woman with an opinion. And that's just the time that we're living in. And then I post my schedule. So I do feel like that frightens me. I've had friends be like, no one's ever gonna do anything. And I'm like, but you don't know that.
No.
You don't know that. And then so that I think about that. And then I'm glad that I mean, at least for now, I'm protected under free speech and parody. Like it is all like satire, it's comedy, and so I am protected. I feel like if they don't get Saturday Night Live, if they don't sue the Daily Show, then why are they gonna get me? I don't have any money. Like, what are they gonna get? Just me to shut up? Okay. If they were to find me and get me like a letter, they can't deport me. Where are you gonna send me? Puerto Rico? Okay. Let me go back home. What? I have a U.S. passport. They can't deport me. They can't detain me. They can't make me disappear, I suppose. But I've thought about this though.
Yes.
With I am going to Europe with my friend Lace this summer. We're going to Spain, just to recharge my colonizer energy. And then we're coming back. And when I come back, we have a 5-hour layover in Boston. I'm like, I bet I get stopped.
I'm covered under free speech for now is the most haunting
I know.
asterisk.
I know.
But I think
I
it
know.
means that you're paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because there's other left-leaning creators that have been stopped and detained and asked further questions. And so I've my best friend is like she used to be an immigration lawyer. So we have
Got her on speed
yeah,
dial.
I've got her on speed dial. That's my attorney. She's unpaid, but I do pay her because I take really good pictures of her. So that's great.
Something.
That's how I pay people.
Do you think Carolyn Levitt has ever seen your impersonations?
I 100% think she has. The reason being is because I was at the Capitol with Jasmine Crockett's team, and I was talking to her team because Jasmine's reshared my videos, and I tag her every single day, 81 days in a row, multiple times a day. Sometimes I tag her in every video. She's seen them. She sees things. She's 27. She's on her phone. But I do think that because Jasmine's team, I said, hey, I'm like, I just want like I'm like, can I get 30 seconds with Jasmine or whatever? Because I'm like, I know she's watched my videos. And then I was like, I'm like, I do these sketches where I do the press secretary. He goes, oh my God, that's you. And so I'm like, oh, if the assistants know, if that like scene is aware of the sketches, then she knows. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Do you think she thinks they're flattering?
No, I don't think so. But I do feel that since I've widened the scope of characters that I do, I do think that like, because I did like a Neanderthal face for Marjorie Taylor Greene. And so I do feel like as she sees how I handle
How
other
ruthless
people
you could be.
with other people,
Yes.
somebody told me that I make her lovable. And that's like, oh, then that's kind of dangerous because I don't want to make people like her because she's evil.
Which filter are you using for Christy Nome? That is my most burning question.
I used the bold glamour one for a while, but her skin isn't that good. So I had to do some post and cap cut where I just like do like the dramatic makeup and then make my lips bigger in post. So I have to do a lot of like gender affirming care in post.
Since you are doing these on a regular cadence, can you just talk me through what a day in creating one of these videos
Yeah.
actually looks like?
Yeah, so I do like every night. So I'll start with before I go to bed. So before I go to bed, I will look at the bullet points of the news for the day. Usually we'll look at like Midas Touch has like a really good recap, and Aaron Parnas, they do like a good bullet points of what was like the main notes of the day. And I have like on my double-sided notebook, I'm like, I put the notes of the topics of what happened that day, and then I wake up at 7 the next morning, and then I go to my kitchen, and then I take what's there, and then I map it out of how I'm gonna do. So I don't write exactly what's gonna come out of my mouth, but I have the bullet points that I'm gonna hit, and then I have the things that I cover in the sketch. Like for example, all of this happened organically because like it wasn't like something that I knew that like for example, I start off every sketch now with a physical feat of elite power that President Trump has done because obviously he's such an elite, perfectly healthy athlete. So every sketch I start with something like that. I have to include Caitlin Collins, the Washington Post. I have to say Joe Biden a couple times, and then I'll break Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I like butcher his name on purpose every time and blame him for committing crimes. And then also I bring up Home Alone 2 Lost in New York every time in one way, shape, or form. So those are those are the things that I have to hit
Okay.
in each sketch. So I'm like, how do I weave them in? Then when I go to record the briefing, I do it on my bedroom window ledge.
Hmm.
And so I have like the piece of paper with the bullet points there. I set up my phone. I do my makeup there, so then I have it right. So I call it my white woman drag. Because I put on the wig, and then like, because the filter really only does my eyebrows and my eyes to change them to be blue, and then I contour my face with some like Ben Nye makeup that I got. And so I'm like, because her face is different than mine, and so that's how I get the look. And then I know the Goodwills in my area hate to see me coming, because I have so many blazers now, so many crazy blazers. Oh yeah, and then the cross. So the cross of the day, that also started because like I was just playing around with trying to like imitate her at first, and then I did like a little post-it cross, and then people were like, oh, the cross should get bigger, and I was like, okay. I read the comments a lot, so the comments it's kind of, I call it a group project a little bit, because it is like I see what people like, and then I'm like, okay, okay, let me give you something else. And so it's like, that's where it's like fun, because it feels like it's interactive with the comments. And
It's so fun as compared to everyone else who's like, don't read the comments. Nothing good happening in the
oh,
comments.
I love reading the comments for the most part. But also now it's kind of like like now if I see something, unless I know, because I'm at the end of the day, I am a comedian. So if I won't comment back on something unless I can make a little bit of a joke out of it. And sometimes sometimes I just want to match somebody's energy. And I can do that because I'm a comedian. I feel like I have more
Also, because you're a
leeway.
Latina.
Yeah, I mean, period. And I'm independent, so I don't have to worry about somebody firing me. You know what I mean?
What did I miss?
Is one of my favorite songs in Hamilton. When Jefferson comes back from,
What did I miss?
yes, when he comes back from France.
Yes.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite songs.
You're like, is that the same actor?
Yeah, that's the same actor from before, but his hair's loose. And now he's doing like a fun little head thing. That's such a fun show. Um, I mean, I feel like we covered a lot. I don't know. I feel like it's growing, right? And I did write a little piece on Substack about like how I feel my life, because I've been doing, at that point it had been the 75. So you know how people do that 75 hard challenge, and I was like, oh, this is like a good marker to at least like reflect on the discipline that it's taken to do this every single day. Read the news, write jokes about it, dress up, post it, engage with community, and then still do other things at the same time. Because it is, and again, the series was born out of it was an organic thing that happened. I feel like the discipline of, there's so many good things that have come out of it for me that aren't just like, as personally, that have come out of it, rather than just like, oh, because I had somebody was like, oh, you got a lot of followers now. That's, oh, this is cool. You had so many followers. And I was like, yeah, but I feel that more than anything, what that reflects is that my jokes are working, that my writing is working. And I see that as a data point, as opposed to thinking about like, oh, it's just that always seems so empty to me. But I do feel like, oh, that's just like a community of people that appreciate the stories that I have to tell, or the way that my weird brain works, or that feel alone. Because I read the comments, and a lot of them are positive. And people sometimes, because we're in weird times, and so sometimes people are like, oh, when I watch you, I look forward to this every morning. I spit out coffee every time. Sometimes this is the only time I laugh every day, because like things are so weird, and people are losing their jobs. People are about thinking that they're going to lose their health care. And sometimes people also will tell me that the only way that they can get news is through me, which don't do that. Like get it from somewhere else, please. But it is at least, as that's why I try to be as accurate as possible in terms of like the information that I give, but also it is also through the point of view of this satirical character that I've created. Cause it's like, I don't even, and also people are like that. I do get this, like, oh, you're obsessed with her or you do this. And I was like, I genuinely do not think about her at all. Because it's not about her. I'm sure she's adequate as a person, but, it's the role that she fills in this administration, and being a woman, it is the character that I can play, and the briefing is a recreatable wash and go format that I can sink my teeth into. And she is also like kind of a compelling character, and how evil she is, the way she speaks, how she dresses, there's just a lot there. But it's not personal. It's a caricature of a person. And then again, I mostly follow what Trump says and what the administration says, and then usually I can predict how she'll handle it based on, she'll always follow his lead and defend it. And that's like the dangerous part of the and she like has this like evil smile. Like there's just like ways in which that I just think that it's that she will she's a loyalist, because people are like, she's getting worn down, she's gonna quit. And I'm like, no, she's gonna stick it out.
I love a bold
Yeah.
prediction. Lisandra, thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Oh, thank you for having me.